There was no paper trail this time. Up until this moment, every hearing had revolved around documents, wire transfer records, sealed directives, access codes, authorization forms, the kind of material reviewed by forensic accountants, stored in secure systems, and protected by legal barriers long before it ever reached a congressional table. But Richard Blumenthal walked in with none of that. He brought a single photograph. Just one image printed on plain paper. He placed it face down on the table when he sat down. And when he finally turned it over, lifted it toward the cameras, and directed 4 simple questions at Pam Bondi, the room fell into a silence unlike anything before. Because documents can be challenged, sealed, classified, hidden behind executive privilege, blocked by FOIA exemptions, or buried under legal definitions. But an image is different. It doesn't rely on legal framing. It doesn't come with footnotes or case numbers. It simply shows what it shows. Explain this image. That's all he said. 4 words. No legal language, no procedures, no technical shields. After facing questioning from figures like Jamie Raskin and others earlier, the Attorney General said nothing for 71 seconds. The kind of silence that stretches far beyond its actual length. Stay with this because what happened after that pause, and what Blumenthal placed on the table beside that image just moments later, completely changed the weight of what everyone had just seen. And here's the key detail. The image itself wasn't graphic, it wasn't classified, and it didn't require special handling. It was something ordinary, yet deeply unsettling because of how familiar it felt. The Senate Judiciary Committee had convened in room 226 of the Dirksen Senate Office Building at 10:44 a.m. Bondi had already been seated for about 30 minutes before Blumenthal took the microphone. The discussion up to that point had been routine, budget allocations, sentencing guidelines, immigration policy, standard exchanges she handled with the ease of someone who had done this many times before. But this moment was different. By the time Richard Blumenthal leaned forward, it felt like Pam Bondi had just about made it through another routine morning. He hadn't spoken for the first 30 minutes. A yellow legal pad sat in front of him, and to its right, a single photograph lay face down. He hadn't touched either until now. "Madam Attorney General," he began, his voice noticeably different from the others. Not aggressive, not prosecutorial, calm, almost gentle. The kind of tone that draws someone in rather than puts them on edge. "Before I ask my first question, I'd like to show you something." He turned the photo over and lifted it toward the document camera, projecting it onto the screen behind him. The room saw it. Bondi saw it. Her reaction wasn't sudden or dramatic. It was controlled, subtle. A brief shift, the kind that suggests uncertainty before composure returns. Blumenthal didn't look at her. "Madam Attorney General, can you identify the individual in this photograph for the committee? And can you tell us when and where it was taken?" Bondi glanced at the screen, then back at him, then toward her lead attorney, who was already writing. "Senator, I'm not able to confirm or discuss." Blumenthal gently cut in, placing the photo flat on the table. "Let me assist with authentication. This image was obtained during civil discovery in the Southern District of New York. It has been verified by 2 independent forensic imaging analysts. The metadata confirms the location, date, and device used." He paused, then looked directly at her. "The date is July 14, 2007. The location is a private residence in Palm Beach, Florida." According to sworn testimony tied to that same case, the individuals in this photo include Jeffrey Epstein and a woman present in a professional capacity related to his operations. Another pause. "Madam Attorney General, you are the 3rd person in this photo, standing to Epstein's left, holding a drink." The room didn't gradually fall quiet. It broke into a sudden, stunned stillness, the kind that hits when everything people thought they understood shifts in an instant. Reporters started shifting in their seats, murmurs rising from the gallery. Camera operators adjusted quickly, sensing the moment. The chairman's gavel struck 3 times before order was finally restored. "Order! Order in the chamber!" Pam Bondi didn't move. Her hands stayed flat on the table, her face losing color. Not shock, but that controlled strain of someone trying to hold composure when it's slipping. Her lead attorney stood up. "Mr. Chairman, I strongly object to this line of questioning. Senator Richard Blumenthal is introducing an unauthenticated image without prior notice. This violates basic procedure." "It's a photograph," the chairman replied. Counselor, please sit. The attorney lowered himself back down slowly. Blumenthal never once looked at him. His focus remained on Bondi. Madam Attorney General, are you familiar with this image? Then came the silence. 71 seconds. Long enough that multiple reporters later said they timed it. No one spoke. No one moved. It was the kind of stillness where everyone waits, knowing nothing is about to break it. Bondi's lips parted slightly. Her grip tightened against the table. A subtle muscle near her ear flickered, something the cameras had caught before. Her attorney leaned in to whisper, but she didn't react. Finally she spoke. I attended many social and professional events during my time as Florida's Attorney General, and in the years following. I cannot confirm or explain specific images without full context. Blumenthal nodded once. So you cannot confirm that this is you? I cannot characterize the image without knowing all surrounding details. He reached into his folder again. Then let me provide that context. He placed another document beneath the photo. This comes from sworn deposition testimony in the civil case where this image was obtained. The witness was asked to identify individuals present at the Palm Beach residence on July 14, 2007. He paused briefly. The witness identified Jeffrey Epstein. The witness identified the woman standing next to him. And the witness identified the third individual as Pam Bondi, then serving as an associate state attorney in Florida. He looked directly at her. A witness under oath in federal court placed you at Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach residence on that date. He placed the deposition page right beside the photograph, two pieces of evidence sitting side by side, an image verified by forensic specialists, and a sworn statement carrying her name and title. Richard Blumenthal looked directly at Pam Bondi. Madam Attorney General, your department chose not to pursue Jeffrey Epstein in the 2008 Palm Beach investigation, a decision widely criticized as overly lenient, allowing a non-prosecution agreement with federal prosecutors. He paused. You were at his residence the year before that decision. Did you ever disclose that visit while serving as Florida's Attorney General? Was it included in your federal confirmation process? And did it influence your office's handling of the 2008 case? The room went completely quiet. Even the faint hum of the lights overhead became noticeable. Bondi's hands tightened against the table, her knuckles pale. Her attorney's pen hovered midair, no longer writing, just watching. When she finally spoke, her voice was measured, each word deliberate. Senator, I want to be clear. My record as Florida's Attorney General stands on its own. I strongly reject the idea that professional decisions are influenced by personal or social interactions. Blumenthal didn't react. I didn't ask you to defend your record. I presented an image, a deposition, and 3 direct questions. He slid the photo back into place. Was the visit disclosed during your tenure? Bondi glanced down the table. I would need to review the disclosure requirements that were in effect at that time. Was it included in your federal confirmation? Senator, I fully complied with the confirmation process, which involved a thorough background review. Before the third question could be answered, her lead attorney stood up. Mr. Chairman, my client asserts privilege regarding any questions tied to internal deliberations of prosecutorial decisions during her time as Florida Attorney General. Blumenthal turned toward him briefly, then back to the dais. Executive privilege applies to communications with the President. Prosecutorial decisions made by a government office nearly 2 decades ago aren't protected by executive privilege. The chairman looked directly at the attorney. Counselor, that claim doesn't apply here. Your client will answer. The attorney sat back down. Pam Bondi studied the photograph again, then lifted her eyes toward Richard Blumenthal. On advice of counsel, Senator, I'm unable to respond to questions that could misrepresent the lawful use of prosecutorial discretion by my former office. Blumenthal didn't react. He simply placed the photo and the deposition side by side once more. A sworn deposition. A verified image, 3 direct questions, and no answer. He submitted both documents into the Senate record. These don't disappear. The photo, the deposition, and this transcript of non-answers all point to the same name, the same office, and the same 2008 decision involving Jeffrey Epstein. He looked at her one last time. You came here as the Attorney General to uphold the integrity of the justice system. Yet a photograph placing you at Epstein's residence 1 year before that decision remains unexplained. He gathered his papers. The public can draw its own conclusions. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. The hearing moved on. Other senators asked their questions, and Bondi responded with the same calm precision as before. But the moment had already been sealed into the record. The photograph, the deposition, and the unanswered questions sitting together in the transcript. One image, one sworn statement, 3 unresolved questions, and 71 seconds of silence that said more than any response. That's now part of the record.